So a little change in plan on the staining technique we're going to use for this table. I applied some stain to a sample. This is some chestnut stain, a gel coat chestnut stain, to a piece that has been finished the same way the tabletop has been finished. So you can see that there's lots of texturing here in the wood, and the stain really does set in and becomes quite dark in those spots. So what I did on this piece is that I sanded smooth the finish and applied the same stain. And what we have now is a whole different set of texturing. You can see much more of the natural wood and the beetle damage. And with some of the roughness of the wood, that still comes through and is quite, it makes quite an interesting piece. So I'm going to sand down this top to give a smooth finish, and then we'll apply the stain. And you can see even with all of these beetle kill marks, and there's some cracks and chips and stuff, that will bring out some of the nice texture of the wood. And even as we sand this smooth, not only will we start to see these holes popping up, but we'll also start to see these marks that aren't holes all the way through, but are just kind of surface indications of some insect damage. So we'll get a lot of character out of this wood, even just with a smooth finish. So we'll go about finishing that now. Alrighty, our piece is now sanded. I've gone over it with, initial sand was 80 grit. I've gone over it with 120, then 180, and a light sand with 220. So the last thing that I'm going to do before we start applying the stain is just take care of that little bit of a wobble. So I'll take care of that now. So we got some stain and first coat of varathane on the little console table. And what I'm doing now is I'm just going over the table with some 220 grit, really lightly, just to kind of take off any rough edges on the varathane itself, and we'll apply the second coat, and then this table will be done. All right, all our sanding is done. What I'm putting on is this bare water-based polyurethane. I've been using a different kind of urethane in the past, and I have actually been very impressed with this product. It goes on and sets almost immediately, so it really helps to reduce any runs and drips. I'll use this again. In fact, this will be my preferred over the other urethane that I was using. Anyway, let me get this on. I'm going to give the table a wipe down. I'll blow it off with the compressor. And then, get on with it. Change of plan. I'm not going to blow it off with the compressor. I'm going to suck it off with the new dust collector. Still a little work to do with the dust collector in terms of fittings and so on, but overall I am very impressed with that new tool. It's doing a good job. So I'm just going to give it a little wipe down now with a clean cloth. We are ready to put on the varathane. Or polyurethane, as this product is called. Straight out of the can, it's pure white. It's like milk, but you stir it up, and as you put it on, it dries clear. There's a clear matte finish, by the way. A little trick that I learned many years ago from an old carpenter. When I was just a teenager, he was in his 70s, a man named Harold West. Rest his soul. He was a great man. Around the edge of the can of paint, use a nail, this is just a finishing nail, and punch holes in the lip of the can. And that way, any paint, or in this case polyurethane, that you wipe off with your brush, that gets trapped in this rim will just drain back through these holes into the can. Then you can seal the can up again without any buildup in this area here. Really a clever technique, works well. I've used that since I was a teenager. Thanks to Harold giving me that tip. Mr. West, shouldn't call him Harold, Mr. West. Now the filler the polyurethane that I put on this side has already started to set. So there's very minimal chance of drips with this product. I'm very different than other stuff I've used, where you're always kind of running around trying to catch all the drips that inevitably form. This is very little of that. When I apply the first coat of polyurethane, I usually have the table upside down, and that's what I did in this case, so that I can, particularly when I'm doing the legs, I can get the very bottom of the leg, the foot, and then paint down, and any drips that do form run down the leg and actually get into these little cracks up here to seal it up. So. But now that I have that first coat on, and this is just a very light coat going over top of it, I'm okay to come down this way. Work from the top down rather than the bottom up. And the last leg. One other thing I have noticed with this polyurethane is that it lays flat really quickly, so you don't get brush strokes showing up in the final finish. All right. Complete. So we'll let that dry, and we'll bring you in for a final look when we stage the table. So here's the table all finished and staged. Really pleased with the result of this table. Kept some of the wood. You can see a little bit of the character marks. And even coming down to this end, you can see a little bit of the more character marks and some of the elm beetle that probably killed this elm tree. But yeah, very pleased with that. That's a nice looking table. Thanks for watching, everyone.